And this is Ken Kraetzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio. We're covering Army football, and tonight we're going to do a special edition of our Sons of the American Legion Army football huddle. And tonight with our regulars from SALRadio, Richard Miller calling in from Florida, and Jack McGuirk calling in from Pelham, New York. And we have two alumnus of the United States Military Academy with us. Sam Houston from the class of '87. Sam is one of our regular analysts for Army football, a former sprint player, and he is down in Huntsville, Alabama at the Beat Navy studio. And we're very glad to have with us tonight Conrad Crane, who's a graduate of West Point, class of '74. I have to note a PhD out of Stanford, and is now the Chief of Historical Services and Support at the U.S. Army Heritage and Education Center in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Conrad, thank you for joining us today.
I'm honored to be here among this distinguished group.
Our pleasure. It was a disappointing game for Army on Saturday, a 38-12 loss to Tulane. It got out of hand in the fourth quarter. Jack, why don't you start by giving us a little summary of the game?
All right. Well, as you mentioned, it was a rough one, 38-12 loss to Tulane. Second loss of the season for the Black Knights and second road loss of the season. Christian Anderson getting the start for Army, actually his first start since the ACU game. He led the team with 77 yards rushing, had a 19-yard touchdown run in the second quarter. Also had a 10-yard touchdown pass to Terrell Robinson, also in the second quarter. That's the second touchdown pass of his career. Army had 270 yards rushing in the game, which is kind of low. They averaged this year about 303 yards per game. They actually had 47 rushing yards on 14 carries in the first quarter, but then they had 143 yards on 20 attempts in the second quarter. Jacoby Buchanan rushed for 60 yards, Tahir Tyler 51. And if you do the math, they only had 80 yards rushing in the second half and were scoreless in the second half. On defense, Eric Smith led the Black Knights at 8 tackles. The team had 8 tackles for loss of yards. John Radigan had 2 of those. But that brings us to the fourth quarter. That was pretty eventful. On 4th and 11 on Army's 19-yard line, 5:22 left in the game. Army attempted a fake punt, but Tulane was not fooled, and Eric Smith got tackled for a loss of 2 yards. And the Green Wave got the ball back at Army's 17-yard line and ended up getting a touchdown, bringing the score to 31-12 Tulane with 4:26 left in the game. And then another trick play try on a kickoff return tried by the Black Knights is Terrell Robinson caught the kickoff and then attempted a backwards pass after receiving it. But that was intercepted by Jatavian Tolles from Tulane, who just walked into the end zone for the touchdown. And the final score was 38-12. The funny thing is that interception was scored as a fumble. Not exactly sure. Yeah. If you look at the postgame notes, it's a fumble. Second loss of the season, rough one for the Black Knights. Next game is this Saturday against Georgia Southern. So that's going to be back at home. And Army is perfect at home this year. So they're going to try to keep that perfect record up this weekend.
It's going to be kind of a interesting game, as that is Jeff Monken's the head coach of Army's former school. And okay, let's go around the huddle. Let's start with Richard Miller. You called this game for the second week in a row. You had your forecast came through. Richard, what did you see? How did Tulane win this game?
Tulane won this game by jumping out to an early lead, and they really controlled the football early, jumping out to a 14-0 lead. The Black Knights tried to hang in there, but Tulane really controlled a lot of the football and the clock for most of the game. They only led the Black Knights by 2 points at halftime, but Tulane's 26-yard field goal by Merrick Culver gave, with 5:38 left in the third quarter, put the Black Knights down by as many as 12 points. They really controlled the football, and they controlled the clock as well. That's how they won. And the Green Wave got on the Army's 17-yard line and punched across with a 14-yard rush by Jacquan Jackson, making it 31-12. Tulane really controlled the football and controlled the clock. That's how they won this game.
Very good, Richard. Now let's go to Conrad Crane. Tell us, what was your thought? You watch Army football very closely and write a column every week. What was your thought about Saturday?
Well, nothing went right. I mean, it was a bad game for every component of the Army system. The offensive line was missing their blocks. Anderson looked rusty. The defense was allowing a lot of first passing yards down the sidelines in the first half. The second half, they were allowing passes up the middle. There was no pressure on the quarterback all day. The coaches made some really strange decisions, going for 4th and 6 at midfield in the first half, gave Tulane a short field. The special teams had an awful day. The short punt led to 1 touchdown. The fake field goal, the crazy lateral. They missed and they had an extra point blocked that proved critical, and then they went for 2 points. Didn't make that either. I mean, they were just and we badly lost the coaching battle of the blackboards at halftime. Tulane made adjustments and really controlled the second half after we had a good second quarter. It was a bad game for every part of the Army team. I think though that the 3-week layoff didn't help. The Air Force disappointment didn't help. I think we're going to learn a lot more about this team this Saturday than we did last Saturday. We'll really see what kind of a team we have and the way they bounced back this Saturday against a very good Georgia Southern team.
Yes, no, it was odd, especially the fourth quarter. It seemed like Army struggled on defense in the first quarter. Tulane got their 2 touchdowns, went out to a 14-0 lead. Then Army kind of put their offense together in the second quarter, and 14-12 at the half. And but then the third quarter, as you said, Conrad, Army really struggled as Tulane got their offense going and scored on a touchdown and a field goal, take a 24-12 lead. But then Army, as you said, the fake punt didn't confuse Tulane at all. They obviously watched the game film when John Radican did that earlier in the season, and then scored. And then the lateral was just one of those odd plays we've seen Army do a couple of times. I still think of that Army-Navy game when Chris Carter was the quarterback, and Army had a chance in the final moments to go down the field, and they did a lateral like that, and it got intercepted. Sam Houston, I know you've been waiting to offer your analysis of this disappointing game. I know you watched it with some alumni down in Huntsville. Tell us, what are your thoughts?
Well, Conrad nailed it. I've come to the conclusion that Coach Fritz lives in Jeff Monken's head, because I honestly think of the games that I've been able to watch of the Monken era, I think that this past Saturday's game was the worst coached game that I have seen. And the team was clearly not ready to play. The head scratching started before the first snap even was played for the offense, when Christian Anderson ran onto the field as the starter. And last week you asked me, actually past 2 weeks, you asked me, are we going to see Christian Anderson? And I said, Monken is true to being loyal to his depth chart. And if Christian Anderson is healthy, he's going to start. However, that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean it's an endorsement on my part of Christian Anderson as the starting quarterback for this team. In my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, I think Christian Anderson should be no more than number 4 on the depth chart. He's slow, he's lanky, and unfortunately, he frequently makes very bad reads in the triple option. His passing skills are very suspect, and he's also prone to get hurt, and it shows. So why he started the game, number 1, Another aspect of when we had our last huddle was I said, Army cannot afford to go out onto the field and pull 3 and outs against Tulane because they're going to find themselves in a big hole very quickly. And that's exactly what happened. First 2 times they hit the field, 3 and out. And next thing you know, after the 3rd possession with the interception, or when they went for it on the 4th and 6, and it was a completely busted play, Tulane is on the scoreboard again. And that also brings up another aspect of the game that was a complete head scratcher. And it was what was with all the cute offensive calls. The stats bear it out. As Jack pointed out, Army ran up 143 yards rushing in the second quarter. The reason is because the second quarter, they got back to playing Army football. They got back to putting Tulane back on their heels, smash mouthing it with the B-back and occasional outside runs. They pulled something else I predicted they would, which was running the option out of the shotgun, which caught Tulane flat-footed and allowed Anderson and Tyler to bust off a couple of long runs, and they got back in the game. But then in the third quarter, they got cute again. They started running the ball, and they had a manageable Army-style 3rd and 4.
Now.
They had a manageable Army-style 3rd and 4, and what did they do? They tried to pass it, and ended up in disaster because Anderson just threw it up for anyone to grab, and it was intercepted. They got back to playing Army football again the next time they got the ball, and they mounted a beautiful drive all the way down to about the Tulane 12 with 1st and 10, and they got cued again and ended up with no points. And then the disaster just unfolded from there. So total head scratcher. Why in the world Cade Ballard didn't even enter the game at all is the question that is all over the All Academy forum that I contribute to. And I've never found any answer for that. He traveled, he was on the sideline, never saw the field. So back to the drawing board for Army, and they're going to have to put on their best game this weekend because Georgia Southern is a good team. If you look at their stats, they're stout against the run. And I'm going to tell you straight up, if Anderson starts the game, Army's in trouble.
Okay. Well, that is something we talked to Coach Monken about. He had been very elaborate in his compliments about Cade Ballard. And he told me that Ballard would have started the Air Force game with Tyree Tyler backing him up. And I kind of assumed that's what the package would be for this game because they've had success, certainly the Texas San Antonio game in particular, and then also the Mercer game. So we'll see. Coach Monken said afterwards that he would have to reevaluate the quarterback situation this week. And we'll hear what he has to say. He obviously won't say any specifics. He won't give anything away, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cade Ballard started. And he's shown that he can throw the ball. He also shows he has a lot of poise. He's 30-0 in high school football, 2 state championships in Tennessee. There's a reason that he was able to do that. He doesn't have height. I mean, he's only 5'9". There's a great picture of him looking up at the Army offensive lineman, but they are focused on what he has to say. They have confidence in his ability to call the plays, lead the offense. Let's take a quick break and let Richard Miller go through some of the other top 25 games last Saturday.
Some of the other top 25 games from last week. Marshall on Saturday, on the anniversary of their very tragic plane crash, improves a 7-0, a 42-12 victory over Middle Tennessee State. Marshall is ranked number 16th in the country. Number 22 Liberty beating Western Carolina 58-14. Liberty is now 8-0 on the season, while Western Carolina is 0-1. Number 10 Indiana 24-0 over Michigan State. Indiana improves to 4-0 on the season. Also, number 9 Miami is now 7-1, a very close 25-24 victory over Virginia Tech. The Hokies go to 4-4 on the season. Number 25, Louisiana, 38-10 over South Alabama. South Alabama falls to 3-5 on the season. Louisiana goes to 7-1 on the season. Also, number 2, Notre Dame, 45-31 over Boston College. Notre Dame goes to 8-0 on the season, while Boston College goes to 5-4. Number 20, USC, 34-30 over Arizona. USC is now 2-0 on the season. Arizona is 0-1. Number 23, Northwestern, 27-20 over Purdue. Purdue goes to 2-1 on the season. Northwestern improves to 4-0 on the season. Number 11, Oregon, a 43-29 victory over Washington State. Oregon is now 2-0 on the season. Number 6, the Florida Gators beat Arkansas 63-35. Florida goes to 5-1 on the season. Arkansas goes to 3-4. Tulsa is now 4-1 on the season, 28-24 over number 19 SMU. SMU goes to 7-2, while Tulsa goes to 4-1. Other games: Wisconsin 49-11 over Michigan. Michigan falls to 1-3. Number 13 Wisconsin is 2-0 on the season. Other number 7 Cincinnati 55-17 over East Carolina. Ohio State, Maryland were postponed. Alabama, LSU. Alabama is ranked number 1 in the country. Ohio State's ranked number 3. Number 12, Georgia, Missouri also postponed. And Coastal Carolina, which is ranked number 15th, 7-0, and Troy were also postponed.
Okay. Now, Richard, we've given Richard a special assignment to track the Pac-12 conference. We did an interview with the chairman of the Independence Bowl, the Radiance Technology Independence Bowl, and Frank Gower. And he said that normally their bowl gets a number 7 team from the Pac-12, but this year, because of 2 bowl cancellations, they will get the number 5 team from the Pac-12, which could be a very good team. Richard, do you have the standings for the Pac-12 so far?
Yeah, I do have the Pac-12 for the standings so far. Let's see, Coastal Carolina, Pac-12. The Pac-12 teams, and it's divided into 2. There's the Pac-12 South and the Pac-12 North.
Sure.
Number 12 in the Pac-12 South, Colorado, USC are both undefeated with 2-game winning streaks. UCLA is 1-1 on the season. They won their last game. Oregon has won 2 in a row. Their 2 games have both been wins. Washington's 1-0. Washington State's 1-1. They lost their last game. Other than that, there are 3 teams in each of the North and the South that are all undefeated. I mean, pardon me, they all have one loss. Well,
Okay.
two teams have 1 loss. 3 teams have 1 loss. 2 in the South, 1 in the North, and the bottom 2, the Oregon State and Stanford, are both 0-2 on the season.
Okay, well, so Army could be looking at teams the likes of Colorado, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington in the Independence Bowl. Okay, let's go around. Conrad, your thoughts. What does Army have to do to move past this disappointing performance in Tulane and be ready for Georgia Southern on Saturday?
You know, they got to do better in everything. I mean, Georgia Southern I watched Georgia Southern play one game, and they run the triple option too, but they work from outside in, where we work inside out. You know, we want to establish the fullback. The game I saw, they really established the pitch play. They really get outside quick. They get to the edge fast. They have a very innovative offense. I wish we could steal their playbook. I think we score on them. The question is, with the defense has got to reestablish itself. It's mainly a running team, though they'll throw now and then. I think we can handle them. I mean, we got to kind of put that game behind us last week and just regroup. It's in Mikey. It's a familiar environment. We just got to do everything better. We got to get special teams better. We've got to get, can't get behind. We got to kind of get ahead of the curve and get ahead and try to control the tempo of the game. should be a pretty quick game with both teams running a lot of running plays.
Yeah, that's for sure. Jack,
we just
go ahead, Conrad.
No, again, we got to reestablish our game and just, and just drive again. This will show what type of team this really is.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Jack, what are your thoughts?
I think they just need to get back, as Sam was saying, to traditional triple option ground and pound Army football, and maybe not use too many of those trick plays or fancy ones. I know Coach Monken sometimes likes to use those trick plays or try to catch the defense sleeping on plays. I think it was during the ACU game. They had a play where Army scored a touchdown, or it might have been the Citadel game, but one of those games, Army scored a touchdown in the second quarter. And then on the kickoff, they actually kicked an onside kick and recovered the ball, which was really unexpected. And that actually ended up working for them. Trick plays didn't really end up working in the Tulane game. So maybe they'll try to go back to, ground and pound, triple option Army football.
Absolutely. I think that's right on, Jack. And Sam, your thoughts as Army moves past Tulane and prepares for Georgia Southern on Saturday?
They need to get refocused. They can't let the disaster that unfolded this past Saturday get in their heads. They can at least look to one silver lining of the game, if you can find any. By my count, Army only had one penalty, and it was a false start. Now, it was an ill-timed false start that contributed greatly to killing a promising drive late in the first half. That could have actually led to Army taking the lead before halftime. But considering that Army has had a little challenge with penalties the entire season, that was actually a shimmer of hope that they can build upon. They can't be making mistakes against Georgia Southern, and they can't have 3 and outs. One thing about Georgia Southern's offense is that their scoring drives would be drives prone to eat up considerably more time off of the clock than what Tulane's offense would do. And if Army's offense proves unable to convert 3rd and 4th downs and to keep drives alive, to keep from making kind of boneheaded mistakes, then and get the ball into the end zone. If Army is unable to do that, they're going to find themselves down again against Georgia Southern. And in this case, it's going to be a team that, as I pointed out earlier, is pretty stout against the run. Their defense gives up a lot of points, but if you watch the stats, you'll see that their points, they give up a lot of points through the air. So I don't think Georgia Southern is going to run in with their defense afraid of Army throwing the ball at them too much. So get focused back on Army football. Reevaluate the quarterback position, because right now that's the weakest link on the offense, in my opinion. And don't, as Monken used to say all the time, don't flinch. And you make a mistake, don't flinch. You're going to make a mistake in a game. In Tulane game, they flinched. They flinched and flinched over and over and over again. And they can't do that. So back to Army football, stay focused, look at your familiar surroundings of Michie Stadium, know the excellence that comes with playing inside that stadium and has been the hallmark of Jeff Monken's years in coaching Army and their record at home. And it's a winnable game, but it isn't going to be easy. So if they get back to Army football, play Army football for 4 quarters, they'll be able to send Georgia Southern home with their 3rd loss of the season.
Yes, and I think Army has to determine what they're going to do with their quarterback position. It's tough to run quarterback by committee. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it successfully. And Jeff Monken has to settle on who his quarterback's going to be, because you've got this game and then you've got the Navy game. The Air Force game, they're going to fit it in either, I guess, before the Navy game, which would be exam week, I understand, or the week after, which would set Army up to play Navy, Air Force, and then a Pac-12 team in the Independence Bowl 3 weeks in a row. Any news further on the reschedule of the Air Force game that anyone has heard about?
I read John Yeah, I read John Feinstein's article today, you know, his Feinstein's findings about the Tulane game. And in the very last paragraph, he in the very last paragraph, he mentions the Air Force game and he mentions December 19th, but then he put in parentheses, hopefully. So that's all I have heard with regards to the Air Force game being rescheduled.
Yes, that would be the one possible date. When I asked Coach Monken about it, I asked him about the possibility of playing the game in January after the bowl game, and he immediately said, no, football season is in December, and there were available dates, and that would not conflict with exams, except the Corps of Cadets would be home and not able to attend unless some other arrangement is made. So we'll see what happens. We're looking forward to Saturday. Saturday is scheduled to be Senior Day at Michie Stadium. It's going to be, again, difficult because the parents cannot attend. We feel for the parents of the players and their families. So we'll see. We will be on the air at about 11:30 or 11:15, and we will show the warm-ups, and we will show Senior Day from our spot in above Michie Stadium. And it's something that's proved popular, and we've been very pleased to be able to do this year. Okay, well, let's wrap up. Let everybody make a final comment about how they think the Georgia Southern game is going to go, or another game of college football this weekend that they're going to watch. And why don't we start off with Richard? You've been right on your forecast 2 weeks in a row. Who are you picking this week, Richard?
I've been on right 2 weeks in a row. My crystal ball will go. I think from listening to Sam, I'm gonna go Georgia Southern.
Oh, no.
I think maybe by 2 touchdowns.
Oh, no, the great sage, Richard Miller, is going for Georgia Southern. Okay. Let's move on to Conrad. Final thought on this week or any of the other college football games this weekend?
No, I just basically focus on Army. I think again, if they put everything together, I think they get a close win. I mean, if they could get Richard, they could get embarrassed if they play like they did last week, but I don't think they will. So I'd say I think it'll be a close win.
Very good. And Jack McGuirk, what's your thought about this game?
Well, since Richard picked Georgia Southern, I'm tempted to pick them, but go with Army to win this game because they have been unbelievable at home. 21-2 record since 2017, and they're perfect 5-0 this year. And I'm sure they want to keep that streak going. So I think Army is going to regroup, and after that loss, and they're going to come back and win this game. Might be a close one, 27-21 or something, but I think Army is going to come out on top.
Okay, and I got to ask Sam Houston, you remember when Jeff Monken was the head coach of Georgia Southern? They pulled a win off at the University of Florida that really brought Jeff Monken national attention and was kind of a key in his being attracted to West Point and being hired. What's your thought about the game and that, it is Georgia Southern, Coach Monken's former team?
It's an interesting matchup, and you may recall that when Monken was hired, he had actually asked that Army not play his former team. This, of course, in the world of COVID, this was an opportunity to put another game on the schedule, and it just happened to be his former team. Monken was very successful at Georgia Southern. He brought them from FCS to FBS. And he actually is part of a legacy started by Paul Johnson of success at Georgia Southern. And Monken was an assistant coach for Paul Johnson when Paul Johnson was winning FCS national championships at Georgia Southern. So Georgia Southern certainly brings a legacy of success. And they have some pretty significant wins in the past few years. They absolutely destroyed Appalachian State last year. When Appalachian State was undefeated, and they played very well this season. They only have one game that they lost by more than just a few points. So they're going to come in eager to play. They're going to come in and not make many mistakes. I don't expect them to. Army, however, like Conrad said, I just can't see Army having 2 games in a row like what happened this past Saturday. I think the talent matchup is pretty even between the 2 teams. It's going to come down to coaching and execution on the part of the players. The wild card here is who Monken starts at quarterback, and if that quarterback struggles, whether or not he sticks with that quarterback. Because early Army struggles are not going to bode well for this game, just like they didn't bode well for the Tulane game. So all that being said, I do believe it is going to be a close game. It's going to be the kind of game that we Long Gray Line faithful hate to watch because we're sweating bullets all the way up to the last couple of minutes of the game, watching that clock and just either hoping we can get in the end zone before it expires or hoping the other team doesn't get in the end zone before it expires. So I'm going to say that Army's going to win this one by 27-24 in a nail biter. It is going to be an excellent tune-up for the for the Navy and Air Force games, because Georgia Southern, as Conrad pointed out, does a lot more running to the outside on quick pitches and outside options. And if you watch Navy and Air Force play, they do the same. They run to the outside way more often than Army does on quick pitches and pure triple option. So it's going to be an excellent opportunity for the defense to get a tune-up. And be able to see that kind of speed to the outside in triple option football games. So I'm glad that this team is on the schedule. So yeah, Army 27-24. And 2 things that I want to point out, not to prolong the discussion. Number 1, if you look at Jeff Monken's 3 best seasons at Army, that being 2016, 2017, 2018, there was no shuffling of quarterbacks. He found his starter. He stuck with it all season long. The only one instance in 2018 was when Hopkins was hurt and he started the backup for 1 game, but he stuck with that quarterback the whole game. The seasons where he's not been effective, obviously there was the rebuilding years and there was last year. You were never sure, depending on injuries or depth chart or who the starter was going to be. And so the decision needs to be made. Who's the starter for the rest of the season? And we're going to need to go with it and rally around that decision. I know that he likes to play the next man up philosophy, but in addition to that, let's make sure that the next man up is worthy of being in that position on the depth chart should they be needed. Second thing, Muschamp got fired in South Carolina. There's some discussion going on right now because Bob Caslin is the president of South Carolina and loves Monken. I'm seeing little rumors going around that Monken is on the list for South Carolina. I'm going to offer my 2 cents on that, and y'all can offer whatever you want. My 2 cents is, number 1, there's 2 reasons this is not going to happen. Number 1, triple option is not coming to the SEC. And number 2, Bob Caslin is a West Point graduate, and he does not want to ruin Army's chances of beating Navy and Air Force. He wants Army to keep winning Commander-in-Chief trophies, so he's not going to mess with what's winning.
Okay. That is an interesting situation at the University of South Carolina, and we will see. There will be certainly a lot of conjecture and talk about that, and we'll see. See what happens with that one. I think Army's going to play well. I think they're going to bounce back from the Tulane game. I think the defense it's got to pick up, but Eric Smith had a big game with his 8 tackles, and Markel Broughton and Cedric Cunningham both had 6. And John Radican, they got to get the defensive line. It's got to put more pressure on the Georgia Southern quarterback. And yes, the thing Army just has to avoid is interceptions and fumbles. Christian Anderson, 2 interceptions, 4 of 12 throwing the ball. But Anderson did run for 77 yards. Tyree Tyler ran for 51. So they got 128 yards out of the position rushing the ball, which isn't bad. They've got to get the fullbacks going. Buchanan had 60. yards. And Anthony Atkins had a good game, 32, coming back from an injury. Santa McCoy had 24 yards on the game. And Cade Bernard also got 4 yards on the day. Army's got to just play pound the ball offense like has been said, and avoid making mistakes. If they do, I think they will prevail on this one and won this game by a score of 24-10. And so I just want to thank everybody for joining us in our group for our huddle tonight. Richard Miller calling in from Florida. Jack McGuirk calling in from Pelham, both from our Sons of the American Legion group. And joining us tonight from Pennsylvania, from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, Conrad Crane, class of 74. And from the Beat Navy studio in Huntsville, Alabama, Sam Houston from the class of 1987 at West Point. Thank you all. And follow our page, West Point Football Report. We'll have Coach Munkin's press conference this week and talks with some of the players. And at about 11:30 on 11 o'clock on Saturday, we will go live from the press box to watch warm-ups and senior day activity through the national anthem before CBS takes over. So on behalf of everybody at the American Legion, we always want to thank the 2 million veterans that we represent at the American Legion, and also our 350,000 colleagues in the Sons of the American Legion supporting America's veterans. So from my home office in White Plains, New York, have a great night, everybody.